Today we're going to be talking about the 10 lies they tell you about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Ooh,
AKA the 10 lies I will tell you about Yu-Gi-Oh! To get you out of this game as fast as possible.
Yeah. So these are things that, you know, they're kind of like negative, I think, stereotypes or just misconceptions people have, right?
Oh, yeah.
Things they'll say.
Hidden truths.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Alex.
So we've got 10 of them, and we're going to try to debunk each and every one.
Yeah.
Take us away,
The
Alex.
first lie
Is
the game is like ridiculously expensive.
I don't know. You paid how much for those magician cards, Alec? Oh, that over 100 or 200?
But see, that's the thing. See, that's the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
You choose for it to be expensive, or you choose for it not to be expensive.
Right.
No one's forced to pay like top dollar for the deck. If you want to, you can. Otherwise, you can just play normal, or you can try and pull it. It's a lot cheaper that way.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's the thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, there really are budget decks. They exist. We've made plenty of videos about them.
I play them.
Yeah. Like, what do you've got a couple, right?
Phantasm Spiral, Goki, Deskbots.
Yeah, like literally
everything I've played has been really budget.
If you're trying to build something like super optimal and super competitive, then yeah, it's going to be expensive.
But the fact of the matter is, this isn't a game where you have to like dump $1,000 to play or something, you know.
Yeah.
And I hear this so much where people are like, this game is so expensive and so
Like-
unfriendly to players. No, I mean,
How am I supposed to play when I need 3 Ash Blossoms? All right, let me just get one thing straight right now.
Yeah.
You don't need 3 Ash Blossoms.
You need one.
You can want one, and you might just pull one. There you go.
Yeah, there's always like a budget alternative.
Yugi didn't run 3 of any card in his deck.
He went
That's
all the
it's
way.
funny, it's really true. Number 2, you have to play X summoning mechanic or else you lose. You can play whatever summoning mechanic you want. There are good ritual decks. There are
Yeah.
good synchro decks. There are good Xyz decks,
Good
fusion
fusion
decks.
decks.
Like, I mean,
And now soon to be almost good Link decks.
yeah, they're getting there.
No, as long as you get things like Grinder Golem in the mix.
Yeah,
They're gonna
so
ban that.
I mean, I definitely do feel like with Yu-Gi-Oh, there's this kind of idea people have where it's like, oh, if you're not playing this new thing, you lose. But even when like pendulums were new and people complained about that,
Yeah.
there actually have only ever been a few dominant pendulum decks.
Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe,
Draco
like,
Balls,
Draco-
Which Pepe got
Same thing,
emergency
really.
hit, really. So.
And like Cleforts, and those are like kind of been the only two like super dominant ones. Maybe Metal Foes?
And now Magicians.
Yeah, and I mean, like, same goes for synchros. Even when synchros were really good, there were non-synchro decks that could compete. It's always been the case. I think people just like to kind of knee-jerk it, right?
And some of the
Yeah,
best
sure.
decks use a combination of them all.
Yeah.
Okay, not all, but
And then
a couple.
honestly, you know, no matter what like summoning mechanic format we're in, there's always a deck that doesn't use any sort of really summoning mechanics, and it tends to be like meta for a while.
Yeah.
Monarchs.
For sure. Infernoids.
Infernoids, Dark World back in their day.
Cosmos. Well, you know, there's only a couple ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You either OTK someone or make an unbreakable board.
Yep, that's been my experience. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that right now even that there's really a strong OTK deck or a strong like unbreakable board style deck.
Not really.
Yeah, I think the true strength of a deck these days is how well it recovers from
I would
taking
say
L's.
that I
Yeah.
think the case in point in the during the zoo format, people were always like, oh, they make these crazy boards, we can't beat them. But then time and time again, people would break those boards because nothing's unbreakable.
Yeah, like there's been periods of time in Yu-Gi-Oh where like unbreakable boards were dominant.
That did happen.
But I
not
don't
now.
think that like we're really in that type of situation right now. There aren't really OTK decks that just kill you in one turn. People like to say like, oh, these games end in like one turn, but that's not really the case. If
We were just at a YCS. Those games took forever.
yeah, wow.
Well, yeah, turn 1 took forever.
Number 4.
So, you know, in this game, there really isn't any creativity. You guys saw YCS Dallas and YCS London. All they wanted to play was Spiral. Come on. It's ridiculous.
So let's debunk this.
Okay, number 1. It's a game about you build your deck. And yeah, some people may choose a net deck and they use whatever is winning. But how you play your deck can also be a source of creativity.
Yeah, I think too many people get in on this idea of like, okay, yes, if you go to a big YCS or a regional, there's going to be a lot of homogeny. People are all going to play the best decks. That's how it is. But in terms of just playing locally, playing with your friends, even playing at some regionals,
Things pop up everywhere. You
there's
know,
a nice
Kinds of
mix.
decks. Like, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows, but YCS Dallas, there was a Cubics deck running around taking names.
Yeah, there've been quite a few different things. I mean, there's always something that will show up and like surprise people. There's always tech cards that you can run to make your build not like the next person's.
Yeah, and that's been a very prominent
Yeah,
point
it's very
here.
tough to have the same exact deck as someone else.
Yeah, so I definitely think there is creativity.
And it's not just about your build; it's about how you play it too.
Styles make fights.
Yeah, exactly.
My next one then is this idea that there's no skill involved in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Come on, Paul. Do you see what people do online is make these combo videos that people just follow through and through, and that's how they win?
People have this thing where it's like, oh, you know, you just play the same cards over and over and you win. But there's a lot of decision making in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I mean, like people always like to say, like, oh, you just Ash Blossom this thing, oh, you just Solemn this thing. But deciding, you know, what you're gonna hit with these hand traps.
You have to factor in whether or not will this stop them? Do they have a backup plan? Should I hold it? Should I play it?
What order do I do things?
Honestly, what can go wrong will go wrong in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, if you're just careless about your cards and you just play it willy-nilly, you'll lose.
Yeah, trying to force your combo to work doesn't work.
A lot of people think the game's all about flow charts, where it's just I make this play, then I make this play, and then I construct my chain in this order. But see, that's all fun in games until like
Your opponent wants to disrupt you.
Yeah, they say they chain Ghost Ogre.
Yeah.
Now this is where you actually have to have skill.
You have to be able to like pivot your turn.
Work your way, because if you don't have skill, you're gonna lose right there. And that's why a lot, you know, as many spiral decks that topped YCS Dallas, there were more
that lost.
Scrubbed out fast.
And what you'll notice too is a lot of the same names tend to top and win these events. And if there was no skill in the game, then anyone could. So clearly, you know, people, you know, practice and knowledge and things like that mean that there is some skill involved in this.
And a bit of psychology. The entire community is toxic.
Are you guys seriously gonna tell me that we don't have the worst community ever? Really, guys?
The Yu-Gi-Oh community does have its
quirks,
bad sex. Right, I mean,
but
you know.
What community doesn't?
But yeah, what community doesn't?
Have you seen the Sonic community?
They're all awful.
I still think that the toxic people you see online are still the vocal minority, right? Like, yes, there's always someone complaining about a price of the game or a ban list or a deck.
Or a way a card would have written.
Or a know-it-all who thinks he knows everything and anyone else's opinion is completely garbage.
But before we get more and more negative with our list, because I could go on and on, there are really good people in this game. There are people who are just friendly, people who will not try to rip you off in trades, people who just want to offer advice, people who are, you know, okay with just having a civil conversation.
Yeah, people who genuinely enjoy playing the game, losing, winning, whatever, they actually like to play.
Yeah, so if you're only looking at the Yu-Gi-Oh community online, you're basically going to only see people who care enough to yell about their problems online.
Yeah, that's the truth. I think that the internet can kind of like, you know, warp your perspective on like what the community's like, but there are good people in this game.
That's true. I know a lot of people back home who play, but they're not that involved like online with Yu-Gi-Oh. But these are some of the most like nice people I've ever met.
Like the people we met at YCS Dallas.
For sure.
That's true.
This game is so hard to learn. I remember when I got my first starter deck, I didn't know what I was looking at. There were these zones, all these colorful cards.
Let's debunk that right now.
What?
Yeah, there's this lie that, you know, people think Yu-Gi-Oh is impossible to play. It's so complicated, it's too hard, there's too many rules, and these monsters have too many effects.
Look, it's a very simple game.
Yeah, for sure.
But
explain it to your mom.
It's hard to master.
Yeah, easy to learn, hard to master would be a good, I think, way to like kind of summarize Yu-Gi-Oh.
I mean, at its base, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh is no different than how it started.
Yeah, it's pretty pick up and play. You know, you summon monsters, they have attack points, spells, traps. All that stuff's not that hard to really learn. I will agree that at the higher levels of like competition, it can feel very, you know, complex and stuff.
But that's merely because your opponent and you, let's make sure, you're both trying to do this. You're both trying to abuse the mechanics of this game to take a win. That's kind of why, that's why it seems complicated. That's why chain links are so important. You're trying to like, you're being really meticulous about this.
Really kind of goes back into the whole like Yu-Gi-Oh does take skill thing, because, you know, like if you don't know how the game works, it can be difficult. But I still think for just a new player, it's not that hard to pick up and play.
And like, just because the game added a couple more rules with pendulums and links, it doesn't make the game all that more complicated.
It really doesn't. Once you just figure out, just like, oh, okay, this is how this works, I'll just work within what this does.
There's going to be a whole generation of players who start off with these rules that we claim were complicated. Mm-hmm. And to them, that's just going to be how Yu-Gi-Oh is. They're not going to think of it as any more complicated than before, because they have nothing else to base it off of.
Only nerds play Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is definitely something this is a bad stereotype.
I mean, look at me. What am I besides a nerd? Look at them.
What?
Are they not nerds? Come on, people.
Let's debunk that right now. Paul, how many? What's an interesting type of player you've met?
I've met all sorts I've met people who, have been in the army. I've met
soldiers.
I've met people who are stoners through this game.
Yeah,
I've met weightlifters.
There's losers.
I've met girls. There are girls who play this game.
Actually.
Grills.
Yeah.
And there are children who are too young to be nerds yet.
That's not true.
That was actually dark. But
I've met football players.
Yeah, for sure.
I've met basketball players.
We've met families.
Heck,
we've met families.
Celebrities.
Yeah, true actually. I think that honestly and truly, this whole idea that Yu-Gi-Oh is only for a bunch of pasty nerds just
neckbeards
couldn't be further from the
garage.
truth. We went to YCS Dallas a couple weekends ago, and I mean, really talked to these people, right?
Yeah.
And
there's some really cool, really
cool, diverse people, for sure.
Some are extremely intelligent. Some are just average intelligent. But
some people are maybe kind of weird and socially awkward. But then there are also a lot of people who are more than willing to just have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was something that that whole stereotype just goes out the door.
It's
fine then.
Nothing. I'm gonna hand you
number 9.
Playing meta decks is boring.
That's definitely a lie.
What? Okay, so let me get started. Okay, so meta decks are exciting. So what's exciting about playing that one deck that everyone else is gonna play because it wins? Well, you're not even building the deck yourself anymore. You're just doing what everyone else thinks you should do.
Can I tell you what's exciting about it? What's that? Okay.
I don't let you finish. But
Playing meta decks is some of the most exciting Yu-Gi-Oh! Because a meta deck kind of gives you kind of a stepping stone to playing at the highest level this game can be played at.
That's right. I think that the best part about these meta decks really is having all the options at your fingertips. One of the biggest complaints I have when I play kind of lower tier decks is that they're
how limiting it feels.
Yeah, they're just feel so limited where it's like, well, this thing got negated, my turn's over, or well, I didn't draw this set of cards, I can't lose. Or
my opponent played Regeki, I now have no cards.
And I think that with meta decks, what's fun is that you kind of have this combo tree of different ways you can play the game. If you want to play defensive, you want to play offensive, you want to end with this board, you want to end with that board. When your opponent disrupts your turn, like the Ghost Ogre example earlier, you are now in a position where your deck is strong enough and has enough options to still play.
You can play around it, you can keep resources.
When you're countering that move, you get to know your opponent is probably also going to try to counter your counter.
Yeah, it's in metagames, it's really push and pull. When in lower tier games, there's a lot of blowouts.
Yeah, something goes wrong and it's over with, and that's that. Yeah, I agree. So I think that people say that because they see the same meta deck winning. Oh, that's boring. It does the same thing over and over. But I mean, we've had some really strong combo decks, really exciting decks in the game.
And it can't be that boring for people that sat there in Nats playing Zoo Ditto after Zoo Ditto after Zoo Ditto. It can't be that boring.
The drive to win was really strong.
That's what got him through.
If
you got a group of 100 people anywhere in the world, how many of them would actually be playing this game?
Wait a minute, that's not even a decent...
Go to a college campus and walk into your classroom and say, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! How many people are going to say that?
Wait a minute, I have actually yet to go to a college and not find Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. And I've been to 3, 4.
Okay, then go to your high school football team and ask them if they play Yu-Gi-Oh!
This is this kind of new sentiment we've been hearing for the past couple of years where some new set comes out that's broken. Yu-Gi-Oh's done. Some new summoning mechanic shows up. Yu-Gi-Oh's dying.
We haven't had a ban list in 2 weeks.
Yu-Gi-Oh's dying. And it's just you've got to kind of remember, this game came out in 2002. It's 2017. It's gonna be okay. I promise it's gonna be okay.
We'll get keep going. If anything, I would say Konami's not Konami, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is doing better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've got Duel Links. It's increasing the game's popularity. I think this year's Nats set the record for the largest amount of attendance.
Impressive.
People just when things don't go the way they want, you know, some
Hit
cards
that
are
nuclear
too
option. Hit that
yeah, it's like, this is too expensive, this game's dying, this card's broken. It's like, no, it's...
button. This is why everyone hates Yu-Gi-Oh!
I mean, number one, this game's cheaper than it has been in the past.
For sure. There have been times where this like decks actually cost $1,000. You hear that as a joke now, but there have been like times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where that's been the truth.
And
Did we ever sell those?
we're getting more
double helixes.
Nope. We're getting more products than
Yeah, we get new products every 2 weeks.
they're just churning them out. They're putting these cards out here. You wouldn't amp up production if your demand is falling.
So, what do you guys think?
Just hit them in that comment section.
Yeah, what are things that you guys feel like are lies that people say about Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, get said a little maybe too much?
Or if you're like Alice and you believe some of them are true,
Yeah.
let us know.
Yeah, feel free to attack us in the comments with your y'all
Agree
are
with me,
wrong.
guys. Agree
To be
with
fair,
me.
we don't have to invite them to attack us. That's instinct.
It's true. So, hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe so you can check out other Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos we've done.
If you want to stay up to date with all of our newest videos, hit the notification bell.
Yes.
Join the what?
Notification
Squad!
So,
Okay.
we want you all to be a part. It's going to be it for today's video. See you guys in the next one.
Pass turn.